Hello and welcome. Thanks so much for being here on the Wellness Architect Forum. We've got 6 days of interviews with health experts, passion igniters, thought leaders, bringing you tips, tools, and takeaway for your optimal health. That's what this week is really all about. I had a vision for this event, and I had a vision for this event about 6 months ago. And I was, sitting thinking, what can I do to bring together all these elements that I coach on, that I educate on, that I teach, right? How I live my life. How can I bring this all together? And what I realized, was that I wanted to bring together male and female health experts to basically bring their expertise and to teach us, right? And I wanted it to be related to my 6 elements of health. So those elements are rest, movement, connection, nutrition, mindfulness, and self-love. And I had this idea. I wanted to collaborate and I wanted to connect, with others in my field, because I think there's always different perspectives. There's always different ways of looking at things. And I wanted to bring us all together in one room to be able to not only inspire myself, but be able to share it with all of you. And so that's basically what I created. That's what the Wellness Architect Forum is. It's the 6-day event bringing together all these areas of expertise and all these passion igniters and people that dive into their topic and be able to speak to what they do and to share it with all of us. So thank you all for being on live. Good morning, Corey. Hi, Flora. I got a few of you I see. You've got 10 of you here. That's amazing. So just to share, I got so much out of these interviews. You work in a field for so many years and you sit back and go, okay, I've been doing this for, 12 plus years, over a decade in the health and wellness field. And, always realizing that there's more to learn, right? You never stop learning. And so when I was doing these interviews, I was realizing that I'm like, wow, everyone has a different perspective, something different to bring to a topic. And you think you know so much, and then you dive into this and you're always learning more, right? We're like sponges. And so I hope that you get as much out of these interviews this week as I did doing the interviews, and just so exciting. So before I share too much about what this week is going to look like and sort of what you're going to get out of the week, I would love to know a few things from you. I would love to know where you're tuning in from. I would also love to know what you hope to get out of the week or what brought you here, right? So that I have an idea. So I've got Flora, she's tuning in from Vernon, of course, my beautiful wife, tuning in from Saskatoon. Awesome, Corey, so great. Good morning from Kelowna. I've got Tina, amazing. So awesome. And what are you all hoping to get from this next 6 days? What are we hoping to get out of it? I'd love to know that as well. So I've got most of you from BC so far. I've got somebody from Saskatoon. That's awesome. And if any of you drop in the comments what you're hoping to get out of the week, that would be amazing. I'd love to share, be able to share with the other listeners. So again, my name, for those of you who are new to me, my name is Christy Ware. I'm a holistic health coach, speaker, author, and educator. I'm in Vernon, BC. I've been doing this work in the health and fitness industry for the last 12 years plus, and super stoked. I'm your host for the event for the week, so I'm the one that's behind the scenes, doing all the work, putting everything together, doing the interviews, and bringing it all to you. I've got a few people that just come in again on live. We've got Tasha. Good morning from Vernon. Awesome. Catalina, also from Lumbee. Amazing. Thank you so much for letting me know where you're from. And if you'd like to show or drop in the comments what you'd like to get out of today, that would be great. Ooh, I've got someone from California. Awesome. Hey, Rachel. So great. Another person, Kim from Vernon. Amazing. Great appreciation for all the facets of wellness. Thanks, Corey. That's fantastic. I'm really curious about the movement and mindfulness interviews. Great. So good. Somebody else saying, looking to get something inspirational. Awesome. Alanda, amazing. Hey, Daniela, thanks for popping on. Great. So everyone's coming to this hoping, well, as it looks like, we're hoping to get inspired. Want to maybe have a takeaway that we didn't, something new that we didn't know. And I know that was really it going in for me was, when I was selecting who am I going to interview, most of the people were people in my world. They're people that I already knew, my friends that worked in the industry or the field, and connections of theirs. So it's basically an extension of people that I already knew and loved, and was like, okay, I want to absorb your knowledge. I want to know what you know. And so that's what they did. They presented that for me. So again, thank you all for being here this morning and catching this live opening call. I hope to give you lots of information so you know exactly what to get, what's coming to your way this week. So you should have all received your day one email. Okay, so today was day one. Today is the day of rest. It happens to be Sunday where a lot of people have a down day, which is fantastic. So basically, what you're gonna expect is every day for the next 6 days, you're gonna receive an email from me. Today's starting out with rest, so there's gonna be a link in that email that's gonna take you to a new page, and it's gonna give you 2 interviews on that element. So today being rest, there's 2 interviews on rest, there's 2 interviews on movement, and so on, all the way to self-love on Friday. Okay, so that's what the week's gonna look like. The interviews are 30 minutes, some of them maybe 40, that's the max. I tried to keep them super condensed so you could make them consumable in that time frame, right? So that's what you're really looking towards. A couple interviews each day, and like I say, ending on self-love on Friday. So I would love to sort of share a little bit about each of the interviews so that if you want to take a note and say, oh, that sounded great. It's like the Reader's Digest version of what we talked about. Then you might say, oh yeah, I really want to catch that interview. I want to learn more about that, or I want to listen to that. Okay. So I'm going to walk you through all of the interviews, all of the speakers, exactly what to expect for the week. Okay. I just had a few more comments come through, so I want to catch those. Catalina's looking for tools to incorporate into daily lifestyle to gain healthier habits. Awesome. Well, you're definitely going to get some of that. So thank you so much. Anything else that I've missed here? Vernon, inspiration and connection with others in the field of wellness. Thanks, Miriam. Miriam and I actually did a workshop together about 1.5 years ago. So amazing. I'm so glad to see all of you here. Okay. So what's the week? What are we looking at? So I start every workshop that I run, every client that I start coaching, we always start with rest. And the reason I start with rest is not because it's a more important element than the rest, more important than the rest, but it's the foundation of everything we do. So if we are not getting proper rest, it spills over to food cravings, right? We want to drink more coffee. We don't have the energy to exercise. We are lacking connection with others because we probably don't feel up for a date or even, calling somebody. We just want to go home and rest. We want to go to bed, right? So when we aren't getting proper sleep and proper rest and recovery, it spills over to all the other stuff. So that's really why we start with rest. And then the rest of the elements just sort of fall into place as it will make sense to you. Then we go into movement, and then we go into connection, and they each build on one another. And then we end and we round out with self-love, which I'll talk more about later. Okay, so first day, today. If you haven't watched today's interviews, it's still pretty early here in Vernon. So those of you who maybe caught them, awesome. If you haven't, today's interviews, first one is with Tasha Skillen. And the title is Rest, Play, Recharge, the Best Kept Secret to Success. And Tasha and I talked about the effects of pushing too hard, of sleep deprivation, and eventual burnout. And so both of us had different stories and things to bring to the table that were related to those topics. Okay, so that was our interview with Tasha Skillen and I. Then Paul Lindersty. Paul is the other rest expert, and he talked about sleep and regeneration, one of the real cures to disease. So we talked about how our bodies are affected, by lack of sleep, lack of rest and recovery, and especially its contribution to illness, including cancer. So Paul is a cancer expert. He's helped many, many people all over the world with the work he does. And so we really just dove into why rest is so foundational in helping to prevent things like cancer or helping with recovery, right? So those are the rest interviews. That's day one. And then we move on to day two, which is movement. And I had 2 interviews with Trisha Curling, that's the first one, and Misha Harris. And so Trisha and I talked about the power of movement. And we discussed how to find pleasure in movement and how, feeling like we're falling off the track or getting derailed, and finding our way back we did that through movement. Finding our way back to ourselves was through movement. And Trisha puts us through a really, really cool exercise to bring us back to that pleasure of movement. So I encourage you to check that one out and how it contributes to our happiness, right? And then I did the second interview for movement with Misha Harris, and that was keys for making movement your medicine. And so Misha and I have a really similar background. So we, as far as how much we pushed in sports and how much we wanted to push from our bodies, and both of us having different times of injury and breakdown led us into, why pushing actually isn't the best method, and how can we find joy in movement just for what movement is. And we talk about the difference between movement and exercise. So that was, again, a really, really interesting conversation. So I hope you enjoyed that one. Hi, Aunt Janine. She's popping on here. Awesome. Couple new people. Kim, hey, thanks for being here. Okay, so we're going into day 3. So day 3 is connection. And day 3, I actually interviewed my beautiful wife, Flora, and we talked about connecting through community and communion. And our conversation was really kind of dove into the topic of belonging. And we also talked about connecting to the self and what we need as individuals and tuning into ourselves. And this one, I will give you a spoiler alert, it was a tearjerker. So if you're okay with that, you'll love that interview, right? It might bring some vulnerability up for yourself. That's definitely how it felt for me. And I was, it was just an amazing interview. And then I talked to Creel Hutchinson, who is also our other connection expert. And he talked about your inner connection nourishes your outer connections. And Creel and I dove into 3 areas of connection. So when I look at connection, there's 3 subcategories of connection, right? There's connection to yourself, there's connection to others, and there's connection to nature. And so that's what Creel and I talked about, was how we can better connect to each of those areas, by using some simple tools and strategies. So that was day 3. That's your day 3 interviews. Then we're moving into day 4, and day 4 is nutrition. Nutrition, I had 2 conversations, one with Sam, Mon Petit Huyn, and Malcolm Saunders. And with Sam, we talked about body acceptance and food. Where do you draw the line? So it was really diving into our body confidence and our relationship with food. Sam is specifically a trainer for women. So she dives into a lot of topics around, women and body image and how we view food. But it's great for everyone, right? Everyone can get something out of that. And then the second conversation was with Malcolm Saunders, and his was called Food Scope, a practical tool to reclaim your health and end any dietary confusion. And Malcolm's acronym, Food Scope, he literally takes us through each of those letters, and he's got this really, really intricate way and a just amazing way of explaining food that really helped me look at things from a different perspective. And I've been nutrition coaching for years and studying nutrition since my mid-20s. And his perspective was really interesting and really neat. So if you're interested in food, interested in learning more, tapping into the things maybe that inspire you around food, or just looking for some real, trying to find your approach, lack of the confusion, get rid of the confusion and just really figure out, how do I really approach food in a logical way? And that interview will help you with that. So that was really a great call. Hey, Joe, thanks so much for being here. I'm just seeing some people continue to pop on here, so just wanting to make sure I acknowledge everyone. Thank you all for being here this morning. Okay, we're moving into day 5. So day 5 was mindfulness. And so day 5, I talked to Alexandra Kovici. And Alexandra and I talked about creating internal ecosystems that thrive in work and life. Okay, so Alexandra really just talked about how our internal ecosystems affect our external environment. So that's, again, a really fantastic interview on mindset. How do we use mindfulness in our work and our life? And then I talked to Adam Fulmore. And Adam and I talked about how mindfulness can help you discover peace and tranquility. And Adam really shares an interesting perspective from his upbringing and how he started to use mindfulness to really just bring himself to a place of peace and calm. And that's really what we discussed, is really finding that place of tranquility through meditation, and how it changed his life and how it's changed my life. So that was really what mindfulness was all about. And then we go into day 6. And day 6 is our self-love day. I talked to Deanna Deacon. She was my first interview, with self-care as self-love, the difference between being and doing. And, Deanna and I talked about the importance of self-love and, remembering that we're human beings, not human doings. And she put us through, again, a really, really cool exercise to really tune in and really tap into your intuition and yourself, right? And that was just, really fantastic interview. And then finally ending with Adrian Moreno. And Adrian talked about, you are loved, so be it. And it was just this amazing conversation with this young man who was just all about loving himself and teaching us ways we can do the same. And so he's just very positive. He's a ball of energy, just got lots of knowledge to share. And he talked to me about how self-love played out in his life. So it gives a bit of his background and his story, and then how he continues to foster that and feed his body with positivity and kindness, and then how he teaches his clients to do the same. So that's with Adrian. So that is literally your week. Those are the 6 days. Those are the 6 elements, right? You've got 12 interviews. And then finally on Friday, so what's going to happen is today's our opening call, right? We're really launching things off today. And then on Friday, at the end of the forum, I'm going to be running a live kind of wrap-up call. It'll be at 1 p.m. PST, so 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern, if you're out in the West, out in the East. And that call is really going to dive into a little Q&A. It's going to be a thank you wrap-up. And I'm going to read a couple excerpts from my book, which I'm going to share with you very soon. So how do you get the most out of this week? Okay, how do we get the most out of the week? A couple things you can do. I understand a lot of you are busy, right? Lots of people are busy. We've got lots of things going on. I do recommend to make the time to go and watch these interviews or listen to these interviews on your own time in your own space if you can, because most of them have takeaways that involve you doing something, right? Whether they're walking through an exercise or a meditation or something to really tune into your body. And when we're busy and working and doing other things, we won't be able to appreciate that in the same way. So if you can't tune in that way, that's fine. You can still listen to the interviews and you can, repeat that section later. But I do recommend making that time for yourself. The interviews are pretty consumable. They're 30 minutes, most of them. I think one of them might be 45. That's it. It's the longest I'm gonna get you to stick around for. But really, you'll get the most out of it when you make that time for yourself. Okay. So every single interview, every single expert that's come on the panel, on the forum, offers a free takeaway. So there's always something to take away. So when you click the link in the email and you head over to the page for the day, so it gives you the 2 interviews, you're also going to see a link to a free gift. So all of the speakers have offered some kind of a free gift, whether it was a meditation or whether it's a training. I know Malcolm's got an elixir guide. There's something to take away from every day. So if that inspires you, you can click those links and check out the speakers, and I encourage you to do that. There's lots of really great stuff. All right, Flora's got so great to listen while cooking or driving. Yes, definitely. If you're someone who drives for work and you've got to commute somewhere, totally put it on. But please don't engage in the meditations while you're driving. They might not be the best time. Okay, awesome. So one thing I would like to mention as well is this Facebook page will be open to comments, takeaways, telling me what you're loving about the interviews, telling me what you're planning to put into practice, any strategies that you loved. So please, during the week, pop back over to my business page and drop some comments in and let us know how it's all going. And that's where we can engage and really connect with one another. So I appreciate if you could do that. And I do remind you in the emails, the daily emails, to come back over and really, dive in and see what other people are taking away and maybe their favorite interview. And then you can go back and catch it if you weren't able to listen. Okay, so some of you might be sitting there going, so Christy, where did this 6 elements idea come from? What was this all about? And, where did this concept come from? And, to give you a little bit of my backstory, I grew up, using movement and exercise as my go-to, right? It was the thing that when I was feeling stressed, when I was feeling happy, when I was feeling overwhelmed, exercise was my go-to. It was the thing that I went to, right? So I used that for the majority of my life, even into my late teens, early 20s, before I realized that there was other things that really made up health. And so that's when I started studying nutrition. So that was in my mid 20s. I was about 24, 25 when I took my first nutrition course. And my mind was blown. I was like, whoa, I didn't know all this stuff. How cool. And then I started working at an organic grocery store. And then I took more nutrition courses. And then I ended up with a back injury in my early 30s. So where did that leave me? It led me into the next element of mindfulness, right? Having to tune in, to tap into my body, to determine what my body needed. And so over my lifetime, as many of you can appreciate, we end up, learning, and we end up layering on these elements until finally I'm in my 40s and I've been coaching and teaching for the last 12 plus years and going, wow, each of these elements intertwine and intersect to create this life of greatest health and happiness. And that's really where I'm at now, right? I feel like my happiness is better than it's been. And I look back and go, okay, what are these things that I've pulled from to create the life that I'm living right now? Okay, so that's how those elements really came into play. And when I talk about it, to synergize our health is to take each of the elements and create something greater together than they would on their own. So synergizing your health is the name of my book. It's Synergize Your Health, the 6 elements for greater vitality and joy. And that is, my book launched on Amazon this past week, March 3rd, and it hit Amazon.ca, Amazon.com. And I'm just overjoyed to be able to have a place to share not only my elements and my book, but bring it all together with the speakers for this amazing forum, right? so given that the 6 elements are how I coach, how I live my life, how I educate, right? They're the things that I bring into play. It just made sense for me to write an entire book on these elements and to be able to take that knowledge and bundle it up and share it with all of you. It's been a process of writing. If any of you've written a book, you'll know what that feels like. Every Sunday morning for 2.5 years, I'm in my office here in the peace and quiet, and I'm writing. And like I say, 2.5 years from that blank page until 2 weeks ago when everything finally finished, and I finally sent in the last edit, and I sent in the cover design and gave the okay, and everything just came to fruition. Amazing experience. And what the book really brings together are my stories, my breakdowns, my breakthroughs, right? My client success stories. And then I take research and put all that together to pull it all together for you. So that's what I've got. That's how the book was born. And then that takes me to, this other little piece that I feel like is worth sharing because well, I think it's important to give you a little bit of backstory so you understand not only why the forum was put together, but also why my book, why I wrote the book. And when I was writing, the first 5 elements, rest, movement, connection, nutrition, and mindfulness were these really obvious things. They made sense to me. They were part of my life. I had incorporated them into my life and seeing the benefit. And then, about 6 or 8 months ago, I can't remember, maybe Flora can tell me, can remind me, but I basically, said to her, there's something missing. There's something missing from this 6 element, or from these 5 elements. I think there's a 6th in me, but I'm just trying to figure out what it is. And I had this reflection, and I started to do some research and look up a few things. And what came to me, and probably why I had kind of blocked it or blindsided, was that I forgot about self-love. And it wasn't that I wasn't living it. It was the challenge for me. It was the thing that was the hardest. It was the thing that I found over my lifetime that gave me the most challenge and struggle to put into practice, was loving my body, accepting myself as a queer woman, right? Accepting my lifestyle, whatever it was. There's these things that we end up blocking because they feel safer and we don't want to talk about them, or they feel difficult. And maybe some of you can give me I hear what you're saying, right? So when I started doing research, what I realized is that 90% of men and women are dissatisfied with their bodies. And for me, I was like, wow, I knew that number was going to be high, but I didn't realize that 90%, okay, men and women are dissatisfied. And I thought, oh my gosh, I would be doing myself and my friends, my family, my readers a disservice by not diving into that self-love topic. And so that's where the 6th element came into play, right? And that is the integral structure hexagon with those 6 sides. And once I put all those together, I realized that's the 6 elements of health. There they are. And so that's where that's what I've written about, and that's what I wanted to share with all of you. I knew I had to continue writing, even though it felt hard, and I didn't know how it was all going to come to, the end was all going to come together, but it did. And it feels amazing. So I'm stoked to be able to share it with you. Again, the book's over on Amazon.com, Amazon.ca. Feel free to go over and check it out. And, in creating this, there was a few things that I learned in creating my book, in creating this forum, and being able to bring people together for connection, to help each other, rise to the top. We have to come together as a group, right? And many of you already know this. We need the support of others. And so without the support of my family, without my wife, Flora, without my editor, without my graphic guy, without Pam, our VA, without everyone pulling together, I wouldn't have been able to accomplish so much. And all of the speakers that came together on this forum, just so fantastic. And I couldn't be more grateful. So I hope that you enjoyed the forum this week. Again, those 6 days, 6 elements: rest, movement, connection, nutrition, mindfulness, and self-love. Friday, we have a wrap-up call. I would encourage you to come on and check it out. Please comment on my Facebook page as the forum's going along. Pop in and let me know how things are going, what you're loving. And I just really hope that you take so much away from this week. Thank you all for being here. Thank you all for your support. And if you have comments or questions, please drop them in the chat here, and I'll make sure I go back and listen. So with that, I will sign off, and I will see you all in the forum this week. Have an awesome week, everyone.